Good evening, good evening, good evening, everybody. We are back with another Fins Forecast show. The 2025 draft is in the books.
Let's
Miami
go.
Dolphins draft picks is well, their picks are in. The undrafted free agents have been signed. It's time to analyze all that, get into all that, and we have a special guest tonight. We will bring him in right after this. All right. Good evening, everybody. Again, we are back with another Fins Forecast show. We are here to analyze the Dolphins draft class. But first and foremost, I have to introduce our guest host tonight. So today we got a special guest, somebody who's been repping the aqua and orange with passion, insight, and a whole lot of heart. You know him from YouTube as the Frozen Fins fan.
Burr.
He's a fellow Dolphins content creator who's been holding it down for his own show about as long as we have, give or take a few months or so. Whether or not he's breaking down game film, reacting to wild plays, just vibing with the fan base, he's built a community that bleeds teal and orange, just like we do. So give it up, everybody. Give it up for the Frozen Fins fan.
What's up?
How's it going? That's
What's
a
up,
wonderful
man?
intro. Wonderful intro.
Hey, only the best for the best, brother.
Absolutely. So how's it going, man? What's the weather like up in Alaska right now?
Right now it's hovering around 45, 50 degrees, and that's pretty awesome considering we're used to 40 below. So
I mean this with as much respect as possible. Don't kill me now, please.
This is shorts weather, man. We're all in shorts right now. Everybody's ready for summer now.
That's
I
wild.
could see it, man. I'm actually envious. I don't know. I love the cold weather. It's getting hot here, and I'm not a happy camper. But
Yeah.
It's great to have you on the show, man. How you doing tonight?
Thank you. Doing great. Really excited to break down these draft picks, man. It's always a good time.
Yeah. Draft season's always one of our favorite seasons. We got into all these draft picks, and we did live shows, as you guys know, on during the first and second rounds of the draft, and kind of broke down all the possibilities for the Dolphins. We're gonna go through all the picks for the Dolphins right now. But first, Josh, how you doing tonight?
Hanging in there, man. Really, weather's getting nice. Stuff is starting to bloom. My wife and I, we got some gardening done the last couple of weekends. So all of that starting to turn green, which is nice. Finally had some time to really truly digest all of the draft picks and the decisions that were made, and read all the comments from our fans, and watch all the videos and watch tape on those players, like do deep dives on all 22 for a lot of the players that we drafted. And, I'm really excited to dive into these fellas, man. I really, really am.
Yeah, well, I know I am too, and I hope you are too, Dirk.
Oh yeah.
So first, let's get into just a little bit of Dolphins news, just some stuff that came out over the past week. The Dolphins are getting new alternate jerseys as a part of a new NFL initiative called Rivalries. So basically, the AFC East and the AFC West are going to be guinea pigs for this project. And basically, when division opponents face each other, there's a possibility they're going to be, using these different rivalry uniforms. I don't know what it means yet. I don't know what the uniforms are going to look like, but it's something exciting. Maybe some different merch to buy. I don't know.
Oh, it certainly will be.
What are your thoughts on that, Derek?
I mean, I kind of feel like this is where we're going to see one of those like Miami Vice style uniforms, like you've seen the Heat version of it, for the Miami Heat, and
yeah,
they looked pretty sick to me. I mean, I'm not a big pink guy, but if they can make a pink Dolphins jersey that actually looks as sick as that Heat jersey did, I mean, I'd be happy to see it for a game or two.
Yeah, and I might be forced to buy one too. Josh, what are your thoughts on this, man?
Yeah, honestly, I'm like super pumped to see what they come up with. I mean, I'm a sucker for the old school, so I'm a big fan of like what they call the retro jerseys now, right? I wish Stephen Ross would just bite the bullet and just make those our permanent ones. I know he never will because his first big decision when he bought the team was redesigning the logo and getting new jerseys. So I'll be really curious to see, what the decisions are from a color palette and from a design standpoint. I hope to God it's not those god awful orange ones, the orange sickle jerseys that they had that were all
that
orange.
that one
Yeah,
right there.
like the Ted Ginn one you have that sign. Yep.
I had a Ricky Williams jersey in that orange color when I was a kid.
I'm just not a fan of it. They remind me of creamsicles.
It's much cooler hanging on my wall than me wearing it.
Yeah. I'm a big Inter Miami fan. I mean, I live in Connecticut, but I'm originally from Miami. So Inter Miami is like my MLS team, and it would be really dope to see some kind of collab, because I know that Inter Miami did a Miami Dolphins collab. So they had their third alternate kit was Miami Dolphins colors, and I have one, and it is fire.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with. I know the MLB has been doing this for a while, like City Connect jerseys, and I'm a Phillies fan, being from Philadelphia, and I got to say, their City Connect jerseys are like fire, absolutely fire. Love this alternate thing that all these leagues seem to be doing right now. So I'm excited to see what the NFL has in store for the Miami Dolphins this year. On other news, we have Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey update is there is no update. I thought maybe he was going to be traded during the draft, but as it turns out, we're just kind of in a holding pattern with him.
Looks like they're trying to split that dead cap that we're going to take a hit on into 2 years. And looks like it's going to be post June 1st, if anything.
Yeah. Well, I read that it could take months, right? And that they're in quote unquote no rush to make a snap decision.
Yeah.
But they should be. I mean, I disagree with that stance. I think, obviously you do what you can to try to take some of the salary cap hit off of your plate, but you got to get rid of this guy. I mean, look, it has nothing to do with him. Like, he's just what some would refer to as a mega alpha, I guess is a term. I don't know, but I see him as a mega dick. And I don't know, like, I just think, it feels to me, and I forgot, I think it was Omar Kelly, or maybe it was even Doug from Dudley Do Right, or Dudley Do Wrong. Sorry. I think he said that it was like the coaching staff in the front office were like walking on eggshells around him.
Yeah.
Which I believe. And that was like that wasn't like a ha funny, like that was a genuine comment. So, I mean, if that's the case, that can't happen. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think at the very least he's a malcontent, and malcontents need to be, Tyreek Hill at least seems to be willing to play the game a little bit right now, willing to play nice and, kind of let things transpire with the Dolphins, whereas Jalen Ramsey just wants out. And if that's the case, you know what, let him go, because he carries a lot of gravitas within that locker room, and if he's just going to be a malcontent, you could have him on your hands in a couple of months. So it's time to move this along.
You know what he reminds me of is if you're a Miami Heat fan, or if you know of the Miami Heat, he reminds me of Jimmy Butler. That old Jimmy Butler situation. Yeah. Jimmy Butler, phenomenal player. One of the best Miami Heat players to ever put the jersey on it, in my opinion, for what he did in his time with Miami. Yeah. Jalen Ramsey, I think, is still a quality player. I don't think he's the Pro Bowler that he was a handful of years ago, but man, he's still a starting caliber cornerback in this league. Yeah. He doesn't need to be that here. With all due respect, I wish you nothing but the best. Thank you for your time. See you later.
Right.
Yeah. And Tyreek Hill is playing the game like you said, but he's doing that more because he knows that he needs to have a good year this year.
Yeah,
because he sees the writing on the wall. I think he knows that after this year he's going to be let go.
Yeah.
And he needs to find a different team to play for if he wants to continue. And in order to do that, he needs to have himself a good year and come back from this little wrist surgery he had and play well. That's why he's doing that. As far as Ramsey goes, he doesn't need to do that. He wants to continue his career and put a nail on that Hall of Fame career of his. And man, there's some people talking about how we just need to do whatever we can to keep him. And I'm just sitting here thinking that is the worst thing we could do.
Yeah.
Is have a player that doesn't want to be here.
Yeah.
Taking up a leadership role on this team. We can't have that.
Exactly.
He's got to go.
Absolutely. And, that's how I felt about Tyreek Hill for the longest time too, Dirk. And then Tyreek Hill kind of showed up for the non-mandatory camp and, he seems to be ready and willing to play nice. And if that's the case, and like you said, he needs another contract. And this is it for him and the Dolphins. This is their last year together, regardless of what happens, So
Definitely.
he plays nice with the Dolphins. He has a good season. He sets himself up for one more big payday before he retires eventually. So it's kind of important for both the Dolphins and Tyreek Hill to just kind of ride this out and play nice with one another.
Yep,
and like you said, with Jalen Ramsey, not necessarily the case. He wants out, let him go. Let him go. And we're going to have to figure out our cornerback room afterwards.
I want to keep. I'm sorry. I want to keep liking Jalen Ramsey. I don't want to hate him. And if he stays with this team, he's going to be unhappy, and I'm going to end up not liking him. I just want him to go somewhere else. And I want to say, I hope he has a good career. I hope he retires and makes the Hall of Fame. That's what I want. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, and I think Tyreek just needs to stay away from the tall women. Right? Isn't that what he said? He had a tall woman fetish.
Yeah.
It's like, just stay home, brother. Just stay home.
Yeah, well, definitely just stay home and learn your playbook and just
maybe have more touchdowns than kids next season.
Yeah, let's make it through this season with Tyreek, and then we can part ways amicably as friends, shake hands, and just go our separate ways.
Right.
So it looks like Jalen Ramsey probably isn't going to be back. So, and the Dolphins didn't really add much at cornerback in the draft. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But there was a report that came out this week where the Dolphins are looking to add a veteran cornerback or two in free agency or through trade. So I'd like to know from you guys, who would you – so, Derek, I'll start with you here, man. Who would you like to see the Dolphins add in free agency or through trade, if anybody?
I mean, there's some free agents available, and like I said, we all know that they're talking to Rasul Douglas right now, or at least they're talking to his agent, and people are kind of down on him for a bunch of different reasons. I'm not so much down on him. I know that he could contribute immediately. I know that he's very familiar with the AFC East, and that's kind of a bonus, to have somebody like that on the team, but it just depends. I mean, the bottom line is we need one veteran cornerback added to the team. Have to have it.
Yeah.
So if I'll leave this one up to them. I really feel like they are going to get one for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're going to end up with two. I think that they're going to end up depending on Storm Duck a lot this year, and in a lot of ways, I'm okay with him making that next step, since every time Storm Duck touches the field, he gets a little better.
Yeah.
So knowing
and the name too,
dude,
right?
yeah,
Come on.
So I feel like if we could add one quality, maybe not the best, we don't need that, but we need a good veteran guy, maybe no older than 30, please no.
Yeah.
But if we did that, somebody that could help out with Storm Duck and those younger guys, Cam Smith, I feel like is a lost cause. So,
yeah, I feel like he probably is too. But I'm also intrigued by just kind of tossing him into the fire this year and saying, "Hey, you're cornerback too, so
suck it up, buddy."
Stupid.
Yeah, yeah. I'm kind of intrigued by that option, but also equal parts scared and intrigued by that option, I would say. Now, regarding Rasul Douglas, he will be 31 before the season starts. That's number one. Number two, he was never the fastest guy, and I feel like he lost a step in Buffalo last year. And number three, do we really want to add another veteran defensive back from the Buffalo Bills, given what happened with Jordan Poyer last year? The Bills sabotaged us with Jordan Poyer last year. He was a sleeper agent. He was a sleeper agent against the Dolphins last year.
Yep.
You will never convince me otherwise.
Yeah,
no, I believe you.
And Dirk, I don't think you were watching at least you weren't commenting on the channel during the season. But we have a segment called Game Balls and Jock Straps after every game when we do our post game reviews, and we each give a game ball out, and we each give a jock strap out. And Jordan Poyer was my jockstrap in perpetuity. Every single game. I didn't even have to think about it. It was Jordan Poyer sucks. Next.
Yeah.
He did not do very well last year, just about every game.
Yeah.
It was just not pretty from him. So,
but no, as far as cornerbacks, I wouldn't mind seeing the Dolphins add. Like Mike Hilton, I wouldn't mind. Stephon Gilmore, I think, is past it. Something Samuel Jr. Is a name that intrigues me just because of his draft pedigree. And also Greg Newsome. There's been talks that the Dolphins could trade for Greg Newsome with the Cleveland Browns. I don't know what it would take. It probably wouldn't take much. Like
no,
take
Ramsey
next year. Yeah, there you go.
Take Ramsey and all of his salary, and we'll take Newsome and all of his salary.
2 birds, 1 stone, baby.
Yeah.
So, Josh, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, honestly, I don't really have a free agent in mind. I think it's more of we need a vet at the cornerback position. We need a vet, maybe another vet in the safety room if we can find one, right?
Julian Blackmon.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll take anything, right? I think, I'm just maybe another edge rusher, right? I know there's also Asante Samuel Jr. is out there too as a free agent. Zadarius Smith as an edge rusher would be a nice addition because we all know that our edge group when healthy is probably top 5 in the league. However, when healthy, right? Yeah. And we have 2 of our stars coming off of serious injuries. So maybe getting another vet in that room would help too. I mean, Chop did amazing towards the end of the season. We've added some outstanding players in the draft for the interior defensive line that I think are truly going to make some dividends throughout the season, which I don't want to give too much away. But yeah, we just need to we need to soften the edges, right? We obviously weren't able to address cornerback safety early. So I think we need to supplement those picks that we did make in rounds 5, 6, and 7 with some veteran leaders, some additional veteran leadership.
Yeah. And, that's for sure. And in the coming weeks, I'm sure the Dolphins are going to address this. They're going to trade Jalen Ramsey. I'm almost certain of that. And they're going to address the cornerback room. Dirk, like you said, they have to add somebody. Mm-hmm. And they likely will. So we will analyze that when it comes. For right now, it's all speculation. But what is not speculation, boys, is who the Dolphins draft in the 2025 NFL draft. So here's how this is going to work. I'm going to rattle off the picks in order. You're going to give me a letter grade first and foremost for the pick, A through F, and
we do plus or minuses too, right?
We do. We can do plus or minuses. And then we're going to just go through the guy and we'll kind of go through the player themselves, what kind of impact he can have on the Dolphins this year and moving forward. So I'm going to start off with Kenneth Grant. Dolphins picked him at number 13. They stayed put. I was kind of hoping they would trade back a little bit, get more picks, but they stayed put. Took Kenneth Grant, who incidentally was the second defensive tackle taken out of Michigan in this draft. The first one off the board. I forget who took him.
I don't know. Mason Gray.
Yeah, Mason. Yeah, I forget who took him though. It doesn't matter. Kenneth Grant was the Dolphins' third pick at number 13. He's a big defensive tackle. Been compared to Dexter Lawrence. So, Josh, I'll start with you on this one. What are your thoughts on the pick? Give me a letter grade, all that.
Well, I mean, I think this was a grand slam, not just a home run, a grand slam, right? Going into the draft, we all knew, I mean, everyone and their mother knew defensive tackle, interior defensive line, somehow finding a right guard, cornerback, and safety were our 4 biggest needs going into the draft. The fact that we went with beef, I mean, like grade A Wagyu beef, like just across most of the picks in this draft is both a breath of fresh air, right? Because it sounds like we're getting away from the Ferraris in the snowstorm, right? We're getting those lifted dually Hemi trucks, right? Kind of players, which I love. I've been a huge fan of him. I had him on my top 100 board. I had him rated number 11 or 12. I don't have it open in front of me. So the fact that we got him at 13, a slight success from a player grading standpoint. I think he fits exactly what we need next to Zach Sealer. I have a very hot take, which I will get to at the very end of my comment here. about him. But I gave it an A+. I mean, I think it goes without saying. I think his strengths are elite run defense. That is what he is known for. His athleticism, eye discipline, and versatility. He has played nose tackle, 3 technique for his entire career in college and leading up to college. So he can play across the offensive line. Jesus. Can play across the defensive line. His eye discipline, I think, was one of the best in the draft. When I was watching his film and diving into his tape, he did not get fooled often. I mean, hardly ever, right? With, pass offs and stunts and running back and fake handoffs and motions and screen. He didn't bite on it. I mean, there was one play that he was famous for talking about in his presser where I think it was against Penn State, where he said he saw the hole open up and he took his linebacker, lifted him up and threw him into the hole to try to make the tackle. And that was the one where he ran 15 or 20 yards downfield to make the tackle on the running back. So, 6'4", 331 pounds, playing weight, and he's chasing the Penn State running back 20 yards down the field. I mean, come on, right? What else do you want, right?
Yeah.
I think from a needs improvement, if you will, standpoint, I think he needs to continue to work on his endurance, and I think he needs to continue working on his pad level. Sometimes he can get a little high, sometimes he can lean a little bit forward, so he can get easily knocked off. Not frequently by any stretch, just something to work on. And especially in this kind of in our defensive kind of formation, which we normally play under Weaver, he's an ideal as a 1 tech when we go 4-3, and he can shift over to the nose when Weaver goes 3-4.
Okay. So we got an A+ from Josh on this one. Huge fan of the pick, apparently.
Huge.
Derek, what are your thoughts on the pick?
I'm a big fan of this pick as well. I used to play line in college, and anything offense or defensive line, I'm stoked about. So right off the bat, I'm going to say I give him an A on this pick. And like I said, his first step as a player on defense, especially for a lineman, it's faster than most linebackers that I've seen. And the thing about him, like Josh hinted to, is his intelligence. His football IQ is off the charts. Mm-hmm. So his first step is never in the wrong direction. His instincts and what he does right off the snap is almost always 100% correct. So doing that, he puts himself in perfect positions to make tackles. His run defense is amazing. He cannot be moved by 2 or even 3 offensive linemen. Once he establishes himself somewhere on that line, I'm going to be here. This is where I need to be. You are not moving me.
I love it.
And then when he decides he needs to go, he just picks people up, throws them out of the way, and runs 30 yards down the field and makes a tackle before the safeties can get to him. Kenneth Grant is an amazing football player. A sub 5-second 40, sub 5-second 40 for 330 pounds. You got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Yep.
This guy is an athletic freak.
I mean, I'll put it to you this way. There were moments. So I did multiple iterations of my top 100 throughout leading up to the draft. I had him rated and earlier on higher than Mason Graham.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how high I think of it. And for those that are watching the show that are regular followers, how Mason Graham was like my golden child in this draft, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the one thing that, if I had to be picky, the one thing that I think that I would love to see him work on and improve, and this is a fantastic place for him to learn this too, with Anthony Weaver's defense and the other players on this team, is he needs to develop his pass rush skill set a little bit.
Yeah.
But this is the place to do it. I mean, Chop Robinson increased his skill sets from his position very well last year in a little bit amount of time. And I feel like he's got it's the same chance to do that here. Yeah. Very excited to see what he does after his first year on this team. So
yeah. So I also
and Keith, just so you know, I don't know if you want me to talk about it at some point for these players, but I went nerd central on these players, and I have projected stats for the season and stuff like that. So if we want to dive into that, we certainly can. If you tell me to shut up, then I will too.
Let's save that for another show.
Okay, perfect. I was having way too much fun with this, man.
I went full nerd.
Yeah.
All right, so I also gave this pick an A. This is one of those picks where it's like it was the obvious pick, no notes. Dolphins had to need defensive tackle. Kenneth Grant was a player that was projected right around this range, projected to go right around this range. It's one of those picks where it's like, yeah, okay, cool. No notes, move on. Nice pick. So it gets an A from me. At times, I think Kenneth Grant was more of a guy who, in Michigan, he was more of a guy who was supposed to eat double teams so that his teammates could make plays, so that Mason Graham, for example, could get a one-on-one and make plays. So, and he's going to probably assume that role with the Dolphins too, with Zach Sealer. So, at times. So, it's hard to say who was better, who's a better prospect here, Kenneth Grant or Mason Graham. But we could look back on this pick in 10 years and say Kenneth Grant was the better pick. Kenneth Grant was the better NFL player. And that wouldn't shock me in the slightest. So for me, this pick's an A.
Yep.
And
what's crazy about what you said, Keith, right there is that I think if the picks were reversed, if we got Mason Graham and whoever drafted Mason Graham took Kenneth Grant,
yeah,
I don't know if it would work out the same, because I think both of those players are so close to being equal, in my opinion, at least. Mm-hmm. They went to the right situations, right? Yeah. I mean, Kenneth Grant is coming to a team where he's going to be asked to be a block eater, right? Eat up those offensive linemen so that Zach Sealer and Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips and insert other players, Chop Robinson, can go ahead and get those one-on-ones to get to the quarterback. But what is going to happen more often than we realize right now is that he is going to just part the Red Sea and walk right into the quarterback on some of those occasions. And it's going to be beautiful. Like, I'm genuinely excited. I mean, I haven't been this excited about a pick in 5-6 years. I mean, yeah. I genuinely am. I love this.
Agreed. And Dirk, to your point about the pass rushing, if this guy develops some pass rushing moves, some pass rushing ability, we've got a Dexter Lawrence, like a literal Dexter Lawrence on our hands. Like, this guy is going to be a top 5 defensive tackle.
Yeah, we're talking all pro type player.
Yeah. And Mason Graham, by the way, he went to the Cleveland Browns. The Browns traded back. Right. The Jaguars traded up. Mason Graham went pick number 5 to the Cleveland Browns. We're going to move on to the Dolphins' second round pick. Now, the Dolphins traded their second round pick at number 48, their third round pick at number 98, and their fourth round pick at number 135 to the Las Vegas Raiders for their second round pick at number 37. And their fifth round pick at number 143 to draft the offensive. Well, he was a tackle at Arizona, but he will probably be a guard in the NFL. Jonas Savaiinaea out of the University of Arizona in the second round at pick number 37. Dirk, I'm going to start with you on this one. What are your thoughts on this guy?
And Dirk, I don't mean to jump ahead of you really quick. Keith, can you just whisper his name to me one more time? Just whisper it like sweet nothings.
Careful, I know how to pronounce this.
Oh, perfect.
Go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead, Dirk. Whisper it to me, baby.
Savaiinaea. Savaiinaea. That's how you say it.
Okay. I butchered that. Savaiinaea. That's better. That sound rolls off the tongue better. All right, so Dirk, talk to me about this pick.
Oh man. Okay. So it's hard to even know where to begin on this. I'm going to touch lightly. That way you guys can get your pieces in too. But I'll start off. This has got to be another A for me. We're talking a top 10 offensive lineman in this draft for sure, and a heavy offensive lineman draft. This guy, not only does he know Tua, not only are they a part of the same family. Now, keep in mind, Samoan families in Hawaii are huge. Yeah. But he has a mentality with the Samoan culture, with the Polynesian culture, where he will literally die before he lets somebody get to Tua. And that's just great news to hear. I know it was a steep price that we ended up paying, but if you look at the numbers and stuff on the trade and all of that, it seems kind of even to me. We might have lost by a little tiny bit, or we even won by a little bit, but in this kind of situation where the Patriots were going to take him in the next pick, he was going to be gone.
That is hard reported. That I've seen that.
Yeah. Yep. The Patriots were going to take him. Also, the Eagles, the Bills, and somebody else was also interested in taking him too. He would not have made it much longer. So knowing that, Chris Greer wanted his guy, and he went and got his guy. Now, I don't like Chris Greer, but in this situation, I'm going to give the man props right here. This is a record because I've never given him props for anything. He got the guy he wanted. He went and got him, and he screwed the Patriots at the same time. I'm happy about it. Jonas Savaianea is not only a tackle, he is a guard, center, ice cream man, and milk delivery guy, all built into one. Whatever you need, this man is going to do. Up and down that offensive line, he can play every single position and play it at an extremely high level. He's got great feet, good hands. His ability to take on multiple pass rushers is incredible. The compliments is hard to stop him from coming. He was crying on the phone call with Chris Greer. Tell Tua, get ready. Like, he wants to play, and he's got a mean streak on the field.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's a hugger off the field, but he will kill you on the field. I can't complain about anything that has to do with Jonas Savaianea.
Okay. So we have another A. Another
Yeah.
A from Dirk. Josh, talk to me about Jonas Savaianea. I need to get used to saying it that way.
Savaianea. You know, honestly, I don't think I could give this a higher grade. Right.
Okay.
I mean, if I could give 2 pluses next to the A, I would. 3 pluses next to the A, I would. For so many reasons. Now, I'm going to touch on some of the stuff that Dirk said about the player itself. But the reason my grade is so high is because of what it does to the team. And I'll get to that in a second. But to Dirk's point, he played over 1,000 snaps at left tackle. He played over 600 snaps at right tackle. He played 1,000 plus snaps at right guard. He played over 650 snaps at left guard. I mean, we need versatility, right? That is what we look for in offensive linemen. The problem is those versatile offensive linemen are usually 6'3" and under, and they're under 300 pounds, right? Which is something that we went after. If you looked at outside of Teron Armstead, the players that we drafted, they went for those light, fast Ferraris in the snowstorm. This dude is 6'4", 324 pounds. He ran a 4.95 40 at the NFL Combine. And his 1.72 second 10-yard split was the fastest among players over 350 pounds. Now, what does that tell you? What does that 10-yard split tell you? He's explosive and athletic in a box, which is exactly what you want your offensive lineman to be.
Phone booth player.
Exactly. He is a prime time day one starter at the right guard. Sorry, I'm used to seeing him one way. I got to flip him at the right guard position next to Austin Jackson. And he could be there for the next decade. I mean, that is how good I see this guy. His weaknesses, I think, pass protection look, this is a college player coming to play with grown-ass men, right? He needs to work on his sets, on his drop sets, on his hand placement, stuff that we expect players to work for. But I can tell you this right now. This man is a day one starter for the next decade. That is how good he can be. Why I gave this more than an A+ is because of what it does for our offensive line. What was the one thing we were talking about on a regular basis, Keith and Dirk? I heard it on your show too. Going into the draft when we were looking at our perceived positions of weakness. Well, the one thing we don't want to do is have to put Liam or Borum on our starting offensive line. And what this pick does is it rounds out and finalizes our starting offensive line unit. We have Patrick Paul, who's in second-year tackle, who in limited snaps last year played pretty well, all things considered, learned from one of the best to ever do it. We have our key kind of free agent signing from Pittsburgh, and I'll never remember his name, Keith, and you laugh at me all the time about it.
James Daniels.
Thank you, James Daniels. I never remember his name. I don't know why, but sliding in next to a player that is new to the NFL and Patrick Paul, right? So we have a young player and a proven veteran. We have one of the best centers in the league last year in Brewer, who ironically is now the lightest player on our offensive line. Then next to him, we have Sabat. I'm not even going to try it, Dirk. I'm going to screw it up. Right?
70.
We have Jonah.
Yeah.
Right. Next to him, who I think is phenomenal. And then next to him, we have Austin Jackson coming back from injury, which then allows the other players behind him in Borum, in Liam, and in some of the other guys that we have to take the positions that they should be taking. This is where they belong. They do not belong on the starting offensive line unit. That is not a dig on them. They're just not that good, right? They are the break glass in case of emergency kind of players.
Yep.
And I think I cannot understate or overstate enough how good of a choice this player was for this team because he fits everything. And that is not even talking about, and I'm going on a rant here. I'm sorry. It'll get less and less as we go down. I'm sorry, guys. But to Dirk's point earlier, his mentality is insane when he's on the field. The fact that he knows Tua, he talked to Tua the day that he got like 5 minutes after he got drafted, after he hung up with the Dolphins front office, he was on the phone with Tua because they know each other. They're family. I mean, it's just what a perfect scenario, man. Seriously.
Yep.
Yeah. If you couldn't tell, I like the pick.
Yeah. So we got an A+ from Josh. So 2 A+ from Josh, 2 A's from Dirk. This pick I am, and Josh, we got into it this morning for a while.
I can't believe you're gonna do this to me, man.
This pick, I'm conflicted by. I'm conflicted by this pick. Now I'm going to go on record in saying that I love the player. I love the player. The player himself is probably my favorite player in this draft class. But Dirk talked about the trade. Was the price too high? Apparently, according to Jimmy Johnson's chart, it broke out about even. Maybe the Dolphins came out a little on top. It felt like it was too high a price to pay. So I'm going to give the pick itself for Jonas Savaiinaea. It gets an A because I love Jonas Savaiinaea on the Dolphins offensive line. I've been pounding the table all off season. Josh, you know this. I've been pounding the table all off season for the Dolphins to add guards, add beef. I want a solid 5 guys on the starting line, starting along the offensive line for the Dolphins in week 1. It appears we have that now, barring injury. So I love the player, but the price, and we're going to get into that in a little bit right now. The price was the price too high a price to pay, because now going to the Dolphins' next pick, which was 143 in Las Vegas. Now, if you're keeping track at home, the Dolphins drafted Jonas Savaiinaea.
Nope, try again.
I'm
talking shit, but I can't do it either. So, educate us.
Savaiinaea.
There we go. Yeah. All right, so the Dolphins drafted Jonas Savaiinaea at pick number 37. Their next pick was at 143.
Yep, out of the third and out of the fourth.
Yes. So they did trade their 4th round pick at 116 to Houston for a 2026 third round pick and a 6th round pick in this year's draft. But however you want to slice it, the Dolphins went over 100 picks without making a selection in this draft.
Yeah. And
that I can't abide. Their next pick was defensive tackle Jordan Phillips out of Maryland, 5th round pick at 143 via the Las Vegas Raiders. Josh, talk to me about Jordan Phillips.
Yeah, so Jordan Phillips, from a grade standpoint, I love this pick. I mean, you guys know on this show, those that watch regularly, this is the player that I have been mocking to Miami in various positions since day one.
Yeah.
Keith, you can back me up on that.
Yeah,
I even called it before the pick was made. I said, this has to be Jordan Phillips, right? And I lost my shit when it was. It was awesome.
I actually assumed he was off the board, Josh. Like when the Dolphins picked him,
it's crazy.
Like, wait, he was still on the board?
Dang. It's crazy, right? So I wanted to give this an A-, but I think we're in the 5th round. I gave it a B+, right? Because my expectations for a 5th round player in general, not Jordan Phillips specifically, my expectations are relatively low. If they can provide anything, it's a home run, right? But Jordan Phillips, I had a round 3, a fringe round 2, but a solid round 3 grade on Jordan Phillips. And the fact that we got him at the 143rd pick in the 5th, or not in the 5th round, but in the 5th round at pick 143, I think was a monster get, right? In the same vein that we talked about Kenneth Grant at the 13th pick, we are just continuing to add beef. If we're doing some quick, horrible math here live on the show, which I do not recommend doing, we've added almost close to, if not just over 1,000 pounds worth of players in the first 3 picks. Right? I mean, and our defensive line room, our interior defensive line room is now solid for the next at least 5 years, if not longer, between Sealer, Phillips, Grant, maybe Biggs down the road if he can turn into something, right? I think this was such a smart pick. Jordan Phillips is in my opinion, a more closely. His play style is more closely to a nose tackle than anything else, right? So he's going to be that, in my opinion, that run stop. We're going to ask you to we're going to put you in, go stop the run. We don't need you to rush the passer. Don't try to rush the passer. Anchor in, take up blocks, and put your big belly in front of people, right? That's what we're going to ask him to do, and that's what he's good at. His physical tools are outstanding. I mean, another 6'3", 320-pound player coming onto our interior defensive line. And despite being just 20 years old, and I found this really interesting, Phillips has been recognized for his maturity and leadership on and off the field. Mike, the Maryland's head coach, Mike Loxley, praised him for setting a positive example for his older teammates and pulling them into meetings and doing extra game film and extra time on the practice field, which for a 20-year-old, and he will not be 21 until close to halfway through the season, that's insanity to me, right? I think he's immediately a rotational kind of guy, right? I don't think he's a starter by any stretch. However, I think he's going to be a key special team contributor from day one.
So the Jordan Phillips pick. So you gave it a B+ here, Josh. That's All right. I can see that. Dirk, what are your thoughts on Jordan Phillips out of Maryland?
I'm gonna grab a hold of this hopium that's floating above my head right now, and I'm gonna throw an A- on this. And here's my reasoning. I was kind of bummed about like you said about the 105 picks that we didn't get a hold of in between this pick and Savannah. But as soon as they said his name for this pick, I was instantly okay.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that this team hasn't had in a long time. We've had some good defensive lines, but it's been a long time since we had quality depth at that position at defensive tackle. Now we have that. We have a player who will be quality. Is he going to be a starting all-pro player? I don't know, but it's not out of the realm of possibility for this guy with the way he plays.
Mm-hmm.
He's very versatile. It's much the same story as Kenneth Grant. Same kind of things. The only thing that I wish he could work on, and I hope he does, is his pass rush, because he's another one of those guys that absolutely stuffs runs on a regular basis, and he can turn corners and chase people down. I mean, this guy is another one of those players that's just solid beef and high horsepower motor. Like, he doesn't stop. So he's a little inconsistent with results, but like I said, this is somebody, like you said, you've mocked him up 100 times in your drafts. Me too. He always ended up going to me in a mock, and yeah, he's a beast. I could not complain about our first 3 draft picks. So that's, since I reacted that way when I was watching the draft, that's how I'm reacting now. A- on the first 3 for sure.
It goes downhill from there a little bit.
A
Spoiler alert.
little bit.
Yeah, so I agree with you guys. This is a pick that I liked. I had Jordan Phillips mocked to the Dolphins quite a lot as well. And like I said, Josh, when the Dolphins picked him in the 5th round, I didn't think he was still available. So when his name came off the board, it was like,
it's
wow,
crazy.
Okay. So I like this pick. I also gave it an A. This was a really nice pick, and the Dolphins needed a lot of help along the defensive line, defensive tackle position. With 2 of the first 3 picks, they addressed that. And this was a draft where the Dolphins had to go in and probably harp on at least one position, whether it be cornerback or defensive tackle or offensive line. They needed to go in and commit to rebuilding at least one of these positions in the draft, in my opinion. So they did that with defensive line here. I think they've rebuilt it. They have Zach Sealer in-house. They have Benito Jones in-house. They have other, journeyman in-house, and then they draft Kenneth Grant with the 13th overall pick, and they draft Jordan Phillips, a guy who he's a 5th-round pick, but I saw him more as a 3rd-round guy. Like,
Yeah, he
For
was
sure.
into the third for sure. That's what I
yeah,
thought.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to consider it a lucky pick if he was there at was it 98? Whatever our
Yeah.
pick was that we got rid of.
and if we would have picked him at 98, I wouldn't have had an
Oh,
issue with
thrilled.
it at all. So,
Same grade.
yeah. So really nice pick. I gave it an A. Now we're going to move on to
Before
the
we
dark
move
age-
on,
the yeah.
Jordan Phillips. Listen to this: 665-pound squat in college, 365-pound power clean, and he did it regularly. Apparently,
Yeah,
insanity.
I don't. If anybody's ever done power cleans before,
Yeah,
365 pounds is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
That's backbreaking. Like I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And again, this guy is huge. He's young. He will be able to grow within the Dolphins offensive line. He'll be a part of a rotation this year. So it's a really nice pick for the Dolphins. We're going to move on, and this is what I'm going to refer to henceforth as the dark ages of this 2025 draft, because they started off with a guy in Jason Marshall out of the University of Florida. And this guy was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school.
Mhm.
He has some talent. I will absolutely concede that. But the pick was just one of those for me. It's kind of. I'm pretty sure that's the sound I made when I saw the pick. All right. I give it a C. It doesn't really move the needle for me. He's not a guy I expect to compete in this Dolphins cornerback room this season, and it's a pretty barren cornerback room right now, especially when you given the fact that Jalen Ramsey's probably going to be gone. If this guy can't compete in this cornerback room, then there's not a lot to be excited about in this pick, in my opinion. So I give it a C. Dirk, I'm going to throw it to you. What do you think about this pick?
I'll go. I'll agree with that right now. I'll say I give him a C for this pick. It could have been a lot worse. I was a little confused because there was other corners available at this time, including one that went undrafted that I thought would have been a better pick in Kobe Bryant.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
So I was a little confused by this, but at the same time, he is a pretty decent scheme fit. He is very, 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 very experienced player for a college player. Lots of games played, and he does really well in zone coverage. Super smart head. Does get kind of beat up a little bit in man coverage and press. So it's one of those picks where I'm kind of iffy on it. Like you said, you made a great point about our cornerback room right now and the condition that it's in. Well, if like you said, we'll know pretty quick if he's worth hanging on to.
Yeah.
And if he ends up being worth hanging on to, I see him getting some playing time, obviously, because we have such a low competition level right now at the position.
Yeah.
He's going to have to contribute immediately if he wants to stay on the team. Otherwise, it's just not going to be worth it. I'll give it a C. I would like to see a lot improve with him. However, he does have certain intangibles that we've talked about with nearly every player we've drafted this season. He's another one of those guys that is a locker room guy, very tough, hard worker, got that fight in him, and when he lays a hit on somebody, he wants to hit them hard. So that's encouraging, and that's why I give him a C. Otherwise, it would be a D.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said there, Dirk. He's Josh, talk to us about him. I've said all I need to say about this guy.
Yeah. No, I think C. That's funny. All right, next. No, look, honestly, I think C's right where it should be. Right, I have a C+ grade on him, just because I do think he is a scheme fit to what Dirk said. Right, he is a zone guy. He is not press. If he's in press coverage, we're screwed in year one. Right, I'll just be honest. Right, but again, he's one of the taller guys. Right. He's one of the 6 foot, which is good. 194 pounds. He's got beef, which means hopefully that means he won't suffer the injury bug too early if he does play. And he still ran a sub 4.5, which I think is phenomenal. Right.
Yep. That
shows that he is an athlete. College, you don't get that just because you're pretty. Right. He's got a 37.5 vertical jump which shows that, again, he's got explosion in the lower body. He's a zone coverage demon, right? I mean, that's what he excelled at. I think he had like 29 or 30 pass defenses in college, right? In 45 games, which is amazing, right? That's almost not quite almost won a game, but pretty close enough to make the leap. I do think I see him, depending on how he kind of does in the offseason, and given our lack of talent at that position, I think this was really a choice because we were backed in the position. Because to your point, Keith, we went in saying, okay, we need to fix the interior defensive line, and we need to get a right guard. Bam. Check.
Yeah.
Shit, we need a cornerback. Let's take this guy, right? He's tall, he's fast. How bad could he be, right? I think he's a day one nickel package contributor, in my opinion, right? I do, and a special teams guy. I
think that's best case scenario, Josh.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. But I can see the pathway in which that happens.
Yeah.
Right. I have written down here, and I'm going to read a little bit. I don't like to read on screen, so on camera, so I apologize. But his strengths align with a zone heavy defensive scheme, which is what we run, right? His awareness and his ability to read the quarterback make him a good fit for coverages and require pattern matching and zone responsibilities. Given the Dolphins' current defensive setup, given our teams, and the potential trade of Jalen Ramsey, that could open up the window for him to have to contribute.
Yeah.
Kind of put up or shut up, right? I mean, again, 5th round pick. I mean, if he pans out, I'll be ecstatic. If he doesn't, okay, like it's a lottery pick. It's a scratcher, right? So, hey, I won 10 million, or okay, I'll spend another $20 next week, right? Yeah. That's kind of how I feel about it.
All right, so I think we got C's all around on this pick for Jason Marshall.
Yep.
We're going to move on to the safety out of Maryland, Jordan Phillips' teammate, and there was actually a video of Jordan Phillips when the Dolphins drafted this guy, Dante Trader Jr. out of Maryland, and Jordan Phillips was hyped. He liked this pick a lot. Dante Trader Jr. is a safety out of Maryland, 5th round pick. They drafted him at 155. Was a pick the Dolphins got via the Denver Broncos. Josh, I'll start with you on this one. What are your thoughts on Dante Trader Jr.?
Yeah, I gave this another C+, right? I think okay value, right? His versatility is what stood out to me the most, along with his instincts. I just looking at his college tape, which I'm going to admit to everyone, I did not dive too deep into him, right? This is one of those this is just like the last pick, right? It's like, okay, we backed ourselves in a corner because we solved our biggest problems, but we need another safety.
Yeah.
I think at Maryland, he showcased his adaptability, right? I mean, he played across the secondary everywhere, deep safety, in the box. He even played some cornerback snaps. I mean, this guy's got some versatility, right? And he played each one of those positions well enough to get drafted, right? And if you watch the film, you can see that he's able to piece it together, and then his body follows what his mind does, which when we get into these later picks, a lot of these players either have it where their mind is sharp and it'll tell them, but their body and their hips aren't loose enough, so their body won't follow what they want, or it's the other way around where their body moves too fast before they think, and now they've got burned because they bit on a play or something, right, on the play action or something like that. Yeah. He doesn't do that. This guy's football IQ is off the charts, and I will say that he is off the charts from a football IQ standpoint. The problem is in man coverage, he's a liability, and he's not fast. I mean, he's faster than any of us on the show, and probably most of our viewers.
But we don't set a high bar, man.
No, we don't. No, we don't. But however, I think from an NFL talent standpoint, he's short area quickness over long speed, right? So if it's a quick screen or a 5-yard in, he's our guy, for lack of a better term. But if it's anything other than that, he's going to struggle.
Yeah. Don't ask him to keep up with a tight end or,
no,
going down the seam or whatever. Like, I kind of, I see a little Jeremiah Bell on this guy.
I could see
that's a good reference right there.
Phenomenal. Yeah. I mean, I see him as a special team ace right off the jump, right?
Yeah.
And a rotational DB in year one.
Yeah. So, Dirk, what are your thoughts on Dante Trader Jr.?
Well, what Josh just said there at the end is a special
Sorry.
team ace. You're
Mhm.
right. That's how he makes his way onto this team and gets his name known. And the reason he's going to be so good in special teams and why I think he is a good safety and why I'm giving this a B minus is
Ooh.
because this man does not miss tackles ever. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter if he's the only one in position to make a tackle, he's going to get shoelaces. He's going to do whatever he can to bring someone down. The man makes tackles. That's the bottom line. And that's what you want from a safety. And on this team, in the last couple of years, we have seen nothing but missed tackles from our safeties.
Yeah.
We have seen so many mistakes from our safety position, not
Mhm.
just Poyer, but I mean, from
Yeah.
any safety playing, we just have seen a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
And this guy, if he makes it on the field at safety, he's going to minimize those mistakes, even as a rookie, because like Josh said, and you said, he has a huge football IQ.
Yeah.
Also, he's a fighter. There's that word again. He's
Mhm.
got that proper identity and that proper mindset to change the identity of a team. You have enough players with that identity and mindset, and then the identity of the team will change. This is the kind of players we need. I mean, not a starter. I think he's going to be a contributor to the team, and I think he's going to have a couple of big plays at some point during the season. So, B.
Okay. I like it. Dirk, you kind of sold me on him a little bit, but it's still a C for me because I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't see a path where this guy gets in the field even. And again, we're talking about a safety room that, not a lot there. If we're being honest about, we brought in guys like Ashton Davis and
Mhm.
Ifatu Melifonwu. This is a safety room that also could use, another player or two, and you bring in Dante Trader, and you hope it'll pan out. This guy feels like a Walt Aikens, a guy who's going to be a special teams contributor for the Dolphins. Maybe he'll play some downs on defense. You're right, Dirk. He doesn't miss tackles, and there were a lot of missed tackles across the safety room. Not just Jordan Poyer, but Javon Holland. Javon Holland would have gotten a much bigger contract if he just would have played better.
Like he was in a contract year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Dante Trader has been praised for his maturity. He's a leader, and he's gonna, him and Jordan Phillips. Apparently, they're boys, and so hopefully this turns into a good thing for the Dolphins. We shall see. We're gonna move on to the next pick.
I'm
This
so
is a
excited
sixth
about
round.
this one.
This was a 6th-round pick. 179. The Dolphins got this pick from the Houston Texans. It was Ollie Gordon, running back out of Oklahoma State. Now, in 2023, Ollie Gordon had over 1,700 yards rushing, I think it was over 1,000 yards after contact. And he had an absolutely standout, outstanding season. Last season, Oklahoma State was a bit of a dumpster fire. Like, just as a team as a whole, like they couldn't get out of their own way last year, and Ollie Gordon had a down season. In spite of that, he still averaged 4.6 yards a carry, which is nothing to sneeze at if we're being honest about it. But so Ollie Gordon had a bit of a down season last year, which is probably why he lasted until the 6th round. But if you look at his 2023 tape, he looked like a borderline first rounder, in my opinion. So, Josh, I'll start with you on this one. What are your thoughts on Ollie Gordon?
This is an A- for me, man. Right, from both a player, like quality of player, but also where we got him.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, last year he was in conversation to be RB1, RB2.
Yeah.
I mean, steady conversation, RB1, RB2. Right. And, his team Oklahoma State was not good this year. Right. They had no offensive line. They had a bad quarterback. Their coaching staff was meh. I mean, it was all on his shoulders, in my opinion. Watching film, I mean, that's not a slight on the program. The Oklahoma State program, I think they produce quality football teams, but I mean, in my opinion, he was one of their best players. And I mean, this guy is the epitome of what we needed in that running back room, right? He is big, tall, fat. I mean, not really fast, but he's fast enough for his size and his weight to do what we need him to do, which is to put his shoulder down, initiate contact, and get us grind out those 3 yards or 3rd and 3 or 4th and 2 at the 50 where we were chucking it up to Tyreek Hill with a hope and a prayer or punting it. This guy can get us those third down conversions on a regular, consistent basis, in my opinion. I think he's going to be a day one red zone threat, right? Which sucks for fantasy, right? For fantasy owners of like the Achans and the Jalen Wrights, Ollie's gonna eat up some of those red zone touchdowns, right? Because he's that kind of player. I think he's a powerful runner. His vision and patience is, outside of Genty, probably the best in this draft, in my opinion, right? And probably the second best vision and patience out of the last 2 or 3 drafts. That's how good this guy's vision is. If you watch his film, he is constantly turning his legs. He's a one cut in north-south type runner. That's exactly what we do not have. And what have we been saying, Keith? And Dirk, I don't mean to bypass you, but what have we been saying on the show for months? Yeah. We need to get a damn power back.
Yeah, downhill guy. Yeah.
Yep. And his receiving ability. He's a power back that can catch, right? He did it quite often in college. He had what is it? I thought I had the stats. I don't have his receiving stats. And I genuinely do believe that this guy, not with the talent ahead of him on the depth chart, but he could, if he went to a team that needed a day one running back, he could be a workhorse. I genuinely believe that in my heart. Led the nation last year, 1,732 yards with 21 touchdowns. And that's who we got in the 6th round. Like, okay, thanks. That's amazing.
Yeah. So you give it what, an A- there, Josh?
Yep.
A-. Okay. Dirk, what are your thoughts on Ollie Gordon?
I'm gonna say A, and I'm gonna beat this dead horse with this stick a little more. And I'm gonna say that this man is the proper identity and mindset that we want for this team. He did a little interview where he was talking about how he plays and what he's thinking about. And he said, when they call me to block, I don't get disappointed. I get excited. Mm-hmm. And if you come back through a gap coming after my quarterback or my running back, I'm going to hurt you. And I'm going to make sure you're on the ground, and I'm going to make you think about doing it again. I'm going to make you think twice. Yeah. I loved it. I got so amped. I started clapping my hands at my computer. I was like, yes,
let's go.
That's what you want. And this guy, like you guys said, he is a bruiser. Mm-hmm. He doesn't do this, the multiple steps side, left, right. He doesn't do that. He takes a step and he goes forward. And that's what we need. We need someone between the tackles that can punch somebody in the face. That's what this guy does. Mm-hmm. And he does it with a smile on his face. And I love it. Yeah. The other thing that we need to think about here is this guy has fullback potential. Mm-hmm. And that gives a whole nother availability with this offense. He can do, he's got an ability. And he also, like you said, Josh, he carries Jolly Ranchers in his pocket because his hands are always sticky. He catches balls. This guy is a dream player to have on our team. We've talked about the need everyone has. Mm-hmm. And we made a pick and got a guy that can cover that need. Yeah, this is going to help third short yardage goal line, just like we talked about. Between him and the addition of Pharaoh Brown and our offensive line improvements that have been made, we are not going to have the same issues in goal line and third down that we had last year.
No more screens.
And if you think about just those situations last year, just changing goal line and third down situations, there's 3 or 4 more games right there that we would have won.
Easy.
Yeah. And I'm not saying coulda, woulda, shoulda. I'm just illustrating that this is a huge addition for this team. He will make the team. He will be a contributor. And like you said, day one, he's going to be contributing. I'm so excited. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah. No, it's a problem when you go into a season and you say, okay, our short yardage back is going to be Raheem Mostert. That's a problem. Or Jeff Wilson, or they tried Devon Achane to be a short yardage back because he's small, maybe he can fit the little crevices No, this guy is going to make his own holes. This guy is going to plow into the offensive line, make his own holes. And I heard that quote that you were talking about, Dirk, about pass blocking, and it got me hyped too.
Oh yeah,
because if there's one thing Devon Achane cannot do.
He tries.
Should not do.
He tries though.
Yeah, well, he tries, and that's wonderful. But he is a smallish back, and he should be out receiving passes. He shouldn't be in there protecting Tua. But Ollie Gordon, wants to be in there protecting Tua, wants to be by Tua's side, fighting for him, fighting with him. And this is a guy, I gave it an A as well. This was a great value pick here. Just very well done by the Dolphins on getting Ollie Gordon in here.
I didn't think he'd be here at this point.
No. I mean, I had a third round grade on him. A genuine third round grade on him in this year's draft. He was a top 25 player last year for me if he would have come out of college.
Well, and I remember watching him in the 2023 season, play for Oklahoma. Yeah, 2023 play for Oklahoma State, and watched him just run all over defenses and just running wild all season long. And I thought, damn, when's this guy coming out? And then he came back for another season, and then he kind of faded into obscurity because of the season that Oklahoma State had. Shocked that he lasted until the 6th round, but everybody else's loss is our gain. Ollie Gordon is the Dolphins' 6th round pick.
Yeah,
we're going to move on.
Real quick, Keith. Dirk, who's your player comp for Gordon? If you had one, just out of curiosity. Sorry to put you on the spot. Or Keith, just
the way he north and south runs, I would say maybe not in size comparison, but he reminds me a little bit of Jay Ajayi. The way that he just runs through holes and makes them if they're not there. I love it. So that's what I would say.
What about you, Keith? Do you have one?
Not really. No, I don't. No. Who would be yours?
I don't have one readily available. I was just curious if you guys had one. I'm trying to think.
Like he's not Brandon Jacobs. He's not as big as Brandon Jacobs.
No.
Maybe like Braylon Allen or maybe like James Conner kind of vibe.
Oh, James Conner. That's not a bad
that's
one.
not bad. Yeah, that's not a bad
like
one.
Like a better Najee Harris.
Najee Harris, who doesn't see a hole and just dance as he's going through it.
Yep.
Najee Harris with vision, because Najee Harris, has all the physical traits you want, but just no vision whatsoever. That guy. We're going to move on to the next Dolphins pick, second to last pick of the draft for the Dolphins. It was a quarterback. Quarterback Quinn Ewers out of Texas in the 7th round, pick 231. Of course, Quinn Ewers was the starter at Texas. The backup quarterback there is just a, dude whose name is bigger than life, and Arch Manning. Quinn Ewers pretty much had to come out of Texas this year. I think it probably would have behooved him to, do the NIL, go to a different school, and try and raise his draft stock up a little bit, because after 2023, he probably would have been a day 2 pick. In 2024, he's now a 7th round pick because he had an injury-riddled season. Texas didn't have as good a season as everybody thought. Before we get into Quinn Ewers, though, I'm going to go to the chat here. William Haas, I think a shame's going to be.
He meant
A-Chain.
Yeah.
Okay, A-Chain. Going to be used more like slot this year.
And Taylor would agree with you wholeheartedly. He's been banging the table for probably 6-7 months that A-Chan becomes more of a slot receiver than a running back in our offense.
Yeah. And Dirk gives a seal of approval on that one.
Yes, sure does.
I love that too. I'd also love to see A-Chan, he should fill that dual role, but we should see Ollie Gordon as a result in the backfield, Jalen Wright and in the backfield. Do you guys think they keep all 4 backs?
I do.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do.
At least.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. And let's see, Waddle and A-Chan splitting Hill's role and Wright in the rookie in rotation in the back. Yeah, I think that's great. I think we're in agreement there.
Yeah. Could we also figure out? Can we trade Hill and just get rid of him, get him off the team, right? See if we can get. Look, here's why I'm not saying that Hill is a bad player anymore, right? I think he's got off the field issues, and that's what concerns me about him the most. I think on the field he's still a talented player. My thing is that we're not paying him $53 million next year. In no way, shape, or form is that happening. So he's not going to be on the team next year. So why not try to get something for him as opposed to just letting him walk? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I see that, and I also see the allure of having, giving it one final go with Tyreek Hill. If he's going to play nice with the Dolphins, if he's going to be a good soldier, then I see the allure of bringing him back, because he's still a cheat code. He's still the speed he adds to an offense, the things that he does to an opposing team secondary it's unique to Just him.
Yeah, but I guess
nobody else can do it.
My thing is he single-handedly lost us 2 games last year.
Yes, he did.
He dropped 2 touchdowns versus the Chiefs and 1 touchdown versus the Titans.
Yeah, and then
he quit on us, and he took himself out of the game in Week 18 versus the Buffalo Bills, our biggest rival right now. Like, so I can't forgive you for that, man. And looks like William agrees.
Look, I see both sides of the coin here, guys. I really do. But if he stays, and I think he's going to stay at this point, then it's. I think it behooves everybody to just kind of settle down on the trade talks and just kind of make your mind up to the fact that Tyreek Hill is going to be the Dolphins' wide receiver 1 this year.
Yeah,
and
I'll try.
Yeah.
A real shout out to William, by the way, for joining in the chat, man. Really appreciate you supporting the show, coming to watch your boy Dirk join us as bringing all of his knowledge, and really appreciate you commenting in the chat, man.
Absolutely. So we're going to go to the 7th round pick, Quinn Ewers out of Texas. Again, he raised his draft stock in 2023, only to have it plummet again in 2024. Arch Manning is going to be taking over in Texas this year, so Quinn Ewers was not going to get that starting job back. I don't know, Dirk, what are your thoughts on Quinn Ewers?
I'll keep this really short, and I'll keep this into one real point that I'll let you guys cover the rest. But the main point I want to make here is Snoop Huntley, Tim Boyle, Skylar Thompson. Quinn Ewers is better than all 3 of those quarterbacks. And that's how I'm trying to look at this. I'm trying to look at this from that standpoint. He has more potential and more talent than those 3 players do. He can throw a better ball all the way up to intermittent passes, middle passes. His arm strength deep isn't quite what I would expect, but he does have good arm strength. He can zip the ball. Like I said, he's better than the backup quarterbacks we've had in the past few years. And because of that, I'll go C on this. I'll just go a flat C. I thought it would be a good idea to grab a quarterback in the draft. I had said from the beginning of draft time, I said 7th round would be the best time to grab one. Doesn't matter who, just grab one. It can't be any worse than Skylar Thompson. And here we are.
It's a fair point.
That's where I'm at. I do like his leadership qualities. I do like how he's in his team's face and he's talkative. He gets on them on the sideline. I like how he expects his players to know the play, to do the right thing, and he lets them know when they're not. He's got leadership qualities. I like that. And I like that he's better than Tim Boyle. So there we are.
I mean, look, Dirk, I hate to break it to you, but not having a quarterback play was better than Tim Boyle. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade.
Fair point.
I agree with what you're saying. He's the break glass in case of emergency quarterback for the Dolphins this year. Yeah. Zach Wilson's obviously going to be the backup. And I do feel better about a Quinn Ewers going into a football game than a Tim Boyle or a Snoop Huntley or a Skylar Thompson. Like, last season was ugly. It was depressing at times. Yeah. Quinn Ewers at least gives you maybe a little bit of hope. We'll see what happens. He does have some talent. He's got NFL talent. Let's see if McDaniel and company can coax it out of him. Josh, what are your thoughts on Quinn Ewers?
Now he has to give a ranking.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know. Like, when I watched his film, and I did quite over the last 3 or 4 days, 3 days, I really kind of honed in on Ewers because he wasn't even on my radar, if I'm being honest, like going into the draft, because I was so low on him as a quarterback this last season. I was like, meh, all right. But, I saw some really good stuff in like very, identifiable moments where the line blocks for him and his wide receiver runs a crisp route and shakes and jukes and gets open and he drops a dime in the bucket for a 20-yard gain, right? But then I also saw, I'm hearing ghosts, right, kind of thing. And I'm gonna be honest with you, like I didn't give this a grade. This is an incomplete for me because genuinely I don't know how I feel about this yet. Yeah. I am of the position like Dirk, like you are, Keith, like Taylor, and like Anthony. I say take a quarterback every year until you win the Super Bowl. I mean, just turn him and burn him, right? Best case scenario, he turns out to be Tom Brady. Worst case scenario, he's on the practice squad for a few years or until next year when you replace him with the new one. right?
Yeah.
I think, to your point, Keith, this is a practice squad player right now, and that's okay. That is not an indictment on him as a player yet, right? We're taking him in the 7th round, 231.
Yeah.
He has the potential to be a decent NFL quarterback. He has the pedigree. I think he's got natural arm talent. I think one thing you learned in Texas, if you look at their teams over the last handful of years, and specifically over the last 2 with him at quarterback, they've been probably, arguably, and I'm a Florida State guy, so this tastes like, vinegar coming out of my mouth. They've had arguably the most talented roster over the last 2 or 3 years in college football, and I don't think it's close. And he's played in and has experience in high pressure situations, right? I mean, you are at the pinnacle of national media, and you are in do or die games week in and week out in college. And he where he didn't get him to the promised land per se, he had some very, very good games, right? And his decision making is questionable more often than not. His consistently is okay, cool. His pocket presence needs to be looked at, but there's a reason he's in the 7th round and not a first round pick, right? So I mean, none of this stuff shocks me. Yeah. I think if he sits on for a year or 2 in an NFL roster and plays as that break glass in case of emergency quarterback, like you said, Keith, I think that's totally acceptable. And in that case, this would be a C plus B minus, right? Because that's what you want. What we don't want to happen is Tua to go out, knock on wood, in week 1 or 2 and get injured, and then Zach Wilson goes out and poops to bed like he has at every other place that he's played at. And now we're required to start him because Zach Wilson got himself injured or got himself concussed or got in trouble or was sleeping with somebody else's mom or whatever. Who the hell knows? That's what we don't want, right? So I think Quinn Ewers for me is incomplete. I know that's a cop-out. I just haven't done enough.
No, I totally get it. I think Quinn Ewers is going to be, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on Quinn Ewers or the next guy, Zeke Biggers, because they're 7th round picks. They may or may not make the team. William Haas, I think Ewers fits a different style than what Tua plays. It was a B minus. I think he could play good more in a KC type of system. I agree with you, but I also think the KC system is just exceptionally quarterback friendly, where you can pretty much plug any quarterback with any skill set into it, and that quarterback will succeed because that's just what Andy Reid does. He's the quarterback whisperer, and that's kind of what I want to see more out of Mike McDaniel. So I want to see him elicit the most out of Ewers. We'll see. I think Ewers is going to be one of those guys where you're going to look around 10 years from now, and he's still going to be hanging around some team's practice squad.
Chad Henne.
Yeah. He's still going to be hanging around. He'll be a second or third, backup or a third quarterback for a team, and he'll get a spot start if a quarterback gets hurt or whatever. Like, this is going to be a guy who's going to hang around in the league for a while because there is things to like there. There's talent there, and so we'll see how things go with Ewers. Look, in all honesty, guys, best case scenario, we don't see or hear from Ewers at all this year. Like, that's the best case scenario. Yeah. And so let's hope that happens. All right. Yeah. Our last pick of the draft
really quick, Keith, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. One thing that I forgot to mention on Ewers that really bothered me was his reaction when he got drafted. I don't know if you watched the video, but he was so like I don't give a, you know what I mean, about being drafted, like, whatever. Hey, coach, thanks. Cool. I got to go. Like, I don't know. That just bothered me. Like, dude, your dreams just came true.
Yeah.
And you look like you're throwing a hissy fit because of, I don't know, maybe you went too later than you thought or whatever. And that, I don't know, that just rubbed me the wrong way. Yeah,
I could certainly understand that. Now, the Dolphins' last pick was Zeke Biggers, a defensive tackle out of Georgia Tech. Going to be honest with you guys, didn't do a lot of research on this guy going in. This gets an incomplete for me. Josh, I'll start with you. What do you think about Zeke Biggers?
Yeah, look, I think this is C minus is what I graded him. Right, this guy is a true nose. That's what he is. He's not going to be anything else. This guy is a bowling ball of a human being with
34-inch arms.
Yeah, I mean, just a massive, strong, just anchor. Right, he's not going to. Don't expect him to get anywhere past 3 yards after the ball is hiked into the offensive backfield. He's just going to. He's the guy that's going to grab the right guard, grab the left guard, and sandwich the center and hope for the best. Right, that is the type of player he is. His run stop ability is probably his biggest strength. Looking back at his film, he stands at 6'6", right? So he's a mountain of a human being at 322 or 321. I can't remember. I think right now, immediately, he's a special teams guy. And the thing that he's known for in college, ironically enough, is batting down passes, right? So I think immediately he's a special teams guy. I mean, he batted down like enough where it was like national media. I don't have the number in front of me, but that's what he was known for. So I think, put him on special teams and on field goals. 6'6", he jumps. I mean, he jumped, relatively high at the combine. So just put your meaty hooks up and hope for the best,
Yeah. Dirk, what do you think about Zeke Biggers?
True nose tackle, like Josh said, he pretty much nailed it. The guy is incredible in run defense, and that's exactly what you want from a nose tackle. You want him to plug holes, and that's what he does.
Mm-hmm.
He's got some room to work with in pass rush, just like the other defensive tackles that we drafted, and maybe they can all learn together. I don't know, but I'm okay with this. I love the size of this guy. I mean, even if he falls asleep on the defensive line, he still is going to be plugging a hole. So you put him in on those heavy running downs. Yeah, dude, you can't be any worse than Liam Eichenberg just laying down on the job. So
that's fair.
I'm okay with this. I like the pick. I like his name. I mean, what's not to like about this guy? You wanted bigger. We got biggers.
Yeah. I mean, there you go, right?
Yeah,
I give this a C for now.
Yeah, I give it a C as well. It's another one of those meh picks. And we'll see what comes of it. We'll see what comes of this guy. Hopefully he can, to your point, Josh, play on special teams and block a couple field goals.
Yeah.
Get his big paw up there and block some field goals.
Yeah, I will say this, Keith. I don't think there's hope. I think we can honestly say I genuinely think he makes. I mean, I think he easily makes the 53 as a special team player. I mean, that's what he will do in year one and maybe year two.
Right. All right. So that is the Dolphins draft class. Just to go over it again, Kenneth Grant at pick number 13 in the first round. Jonah Savianea in the second round, pick number 37. Jordan Phillips in the fifth round, pick number 143. Jason Marshall out of Florida, pick number 150. Dante Trader in the fifth round, pick number 155. Ollie Gordon in the sixth round, pick number 179. Quinn Ewers out of Texas in the seventh round, pick number 231. And Zeke Biggers, defensive tackle out of Georgia Tech, seventh round, pick number 253. Dirk, you're the guest. I'm going to let you go first on this. Give the entire class a grade as a whole.
Okay. I have a question that you guys don't have to answer if you want, but something to think about. When's the last time you can remember a draft when we honestly could look at almost every player we drafted except Quinn Ewers and say, yeah, they're probably going to contribute this year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's been 5 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And we have 2 guaranteed starters right off the bat. I mean, this is something that hasn't happened in a long time. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm so high on this draft. Like I said, it does suck that we lost a little bit there in the middle rounds. I feel like we could have really gotten some help in the third and fourth round. So with that, I'm going to go B+, A-, like right in that range, somewhere right there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll say A- just because.
All right.
Just
Josh, Josh, what's your grade on this draft class here?
Yeah, I think this was a solid. I mean, a very, very solid B+ draft, and I say B+ because, I think it was very well known across everything that the sweet spot of this draft was rounds 2, 3, and 4. We got rid of some stuff, right, to get our starting 10-year right guard, right, which I'm okay with. I also think what saved this draft from my perspective, and again, this is just my perspective, feel free to just decimate me in the comment section, please. I think what saved this is the fact that we still got round 3 talent with the Jordan Phillips, and with the Ollie Gordon. In the 5th round, we got 3rd round talent. So to me, that was kind of it was a moot point in a lot of ways, right? So to Dirk's point, it sucks that we had to do what we had to do to move up, but to move up to get who I think is a decade plus starter at the right guard position, I'm okay with. I mean, look, sacrifices have to be made. I'm sorry, right? We needed our biggest needs going in were the interior defensive line and finding a starting right guard. We did both of those with flying colors. I can't be mad at it. It sucks, sure. We could have maybe got a better linebacker to add to the team. We maybe could have gotten a better cornerback other than the guy from Florida. Fine, okay, yeah, totally with you. But it's not, for me, it's not the end of the world. To me, going into this draft, which would have crushed me, was if we didn't solidify the interior defensive line or didn't find a right guard. We did both of those. I'm in love with those players to boot. And we found in my opinion, probably the second or third running back, in my opinion, in this draft. We got in the 5th round.
Yeah. All right. I have a slightly different grade than you guys. So this class as a whole, I would actually give it B. I think, there's a lot to like in guys like Ollie Gordon, later round guys like Ollie Gordon, later round guys like Jordan Phillips, Jonas Savianea, of course, and Kenneth Grant. These are guys that these are picks that you can get jacked up about. You can actually get actively excited about. But in a draft where the sweet spot is in rounds, the later rounds of 2, 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round, you go 100 picks in the meat of this draft without making a draft pick. That's poor planning, in my opinion. You went up and got Jonas Savianea. That's great. Love it. Love the player. Love the pick. But you went over 100 picks without making a pick in the rounds where you were going to get the most value. I'm not going to ask you whether you'd rather have Cam Scatterbo or Ollie Gordon. I'm not going to ask whether or not you'd rather have Darius Alexander or Zeke Biggers. But there was a very distinct need of cornerback, and Siobhan Rebel dropped into the 3rd round. There was a very distinct need at safety, and a guy like Andrew Makuba dropped into the 3rd round. This was a draft where you were going to get a lot of value in the late 2nd, 3rd, 4th rounds. You didn't have any picks in those rounds. You drop a letter grade in my eyes just for that fact alone. You go from a B to a C. This class is a C for me. And that's just how I see it.
Right? I mean, sound arguments. I disagree a little bit, but I mean, you can't argue with that logic. I mean, it makes sense.
It's fair to say. Yeah,
it really is. Yeah.
And hopefully, and also this is not a, yes. Wow. Great minds. No, but hopefully we'll look back on this class 3 years from now and say, wow, Jason Marshall turned into something. Maybe not a great cornerback, but something, a starting cornerback. Dante Schrader is a good guy on special teams and a great 3rd safety, or Ollie Gordon turned into a feature back for the Dolphins. Maybe we'll look back on this class 3 years from now and I will amend my C to a B+. But for right now, they just missed out on too many guys that I was excited about going into this draft. We did a lot of draft prep, Josh, and how many times did we talk about guys like Cam Scatterbo and Darius Alexander and Deion Walker, and the list goes on and on. I mean, I have the list right here, on my phone of just guys who the Dolphins decided that we're not going to get this guy because we needed Joe to 7-9. So I'm going to end my rant there. We're going to move on to undrafted free agents. So all of us looked at undrafted free agent guys that we liked. The Dolphins brought in a lot of guys, and this is something they've actually excelled at in years past. Bringing in guys like Storm Duck and Kader Kohu, and so we're each going to highlight a couple of guys that we like that the Dolphins brought in. Dirk, I'm going to start with you.
Give me 1 second. You guys go first.
All right. You know what? How about I start?
Sure.
I will start. First of all, the Dolphins brought in a long snapper, Neelan Hibbett, out of Alabama. Yeah. They brought in a new long snapper. I don't know what's going on with Blake Ferguson. I don't know what happened. Yeah, the whole thing was odd last year. Exactly. So I don't know what happened with him, but the Dolphins brought in another long snapper. hopefully this guy is going to turn into the next John Denny.
Hey, there we
that
go.
would be great. There's another guy I wanted to just highlight real quick here. Alex Huntley, defensive tackle out of South Carolina. He was a multi-year captain for South Carolina, 6'4", 296 pounds. The measurables, like he's a big bodied guy. The measurables are there, but I think what he brings more so than anything, if he makes the roster, is just a leadership aspect, a mentality. This is what we talked about throughout this whole draft process. You want guys who are just dogs, guys who are going to eat, sleep, and breathe football, high character guys, and Alex Huntley is that for me. Another guy I wanted to highlight here is a wide receiver by the name of Theo Weiss Jr. Now he had 60 catches for the Tigers last year. He stands at 6'4". Ran around a 4.5. Now they say he's a great contested catch guy. Needs to refine his route tree. This is a guy who you bring onto the team as an undrafted free agent. Maybe he makes the practice squad. You get him a little bit of refinement in his route running, and maybe you can see him contribute by the end of the year. This is an area. Again, this is an area where I feel like the Dolphins have excelled in the past. Identifying guys that haven't been drafted that they want to bring on the team, and sometimes they make the team. Even somebody like Julian Hill, who has no friends on this show, but Julian Hill is an undrafted guy who has played significant minutes for the Miami Dolphins in the past. So I'm going to throw it to you, Josh. Give me a couple guys that you're excited about.
Yeah, so, the first one is Jalen Conyers, right? Tight end out of Texas Tech, 6'4", 260 pounds. He's a receiving tight end, and he's super athletic, right? So this, if you missed out on the top two tight ends in this draft, this is the Tyler Warren light, really. Genuinely the Tyler Warren light that can block.
Yeah.
He stands, like I said, 6'4", 260. His wingspan is nearly 81 inches, which is bananas, right? And he did a 35.5-inch vertical jump and a 10-foot, 1-inch broad jump at the NFL Combine, showing the explosiveness and athleticism that you want in tight end. Look, he has experience playing wildcat quarterback. He's got a basketball pedigree. He's a fast guy. He runs crisp routes. He can block. This is the heir apparent to Jonnu Smith, and he offers a lot of things that Jonnu doesn't, right? Which I think would, pairing them together very similarly to Kenneth Grant and Zach Sealer, this really rounds out the tight end room. So I'm really hopeful for him. I have high expectations, and I know that he got an insane signing bonus. I don't know what it is. But there were like 6 or 7 teams that were like banging on his door, and he actively chose the Miami Dolphins, which was cool.
Well, that in and of itself makes me love him.
Exactly. And the other guy is the same situation, right? We gave this guy a good amount of money, but we weren't the only ones that were ready to sign the check to him, and he actively chose the Miami Dolphins, which is Andrew Armstrong, at the wide receiver at Arkansas. 6'3", 202, ran a 4.5 40. He excels. I have it written down. He excels at making difficult catches through contact with his elite catch radius and hands. Armstrong's size and strength make him a potential asset in the Dolphins wide receiver room and in the red zone. I think this guy is a red zone demon. So you pair him with Ollie Gordon, with our new and improved offensive line, and Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill running crosses in the middle, and this guy doing. There's the potential for Mike McDaniel to draw up some really cool stuff. This guy is exactly the epitome of what we needed, the type of wide receiver, from a body structure, from a height, from a weight, from a skill set that we haven't had for a handful of years in Miami. And this guy really helps, in my opinion, round out the room.
Yeah. He was another one that I liked. Him and Theo Weiss, I highlighted them.
Did you say 6'4"? Did I hear you right?
Yeah. Jesus. They're bigger bodied guys, and this is something that, again, Josh, we've talked all season about. Like, they need to get bigger at the wide receiver.
We need diversity.
Yeah. They kind of did that a little bit with Nick Westbrook-Akine. They're doing this a little bit more with these undrafted guys. Again, wide receiver wasn't a big need going into the draft, so I'm not bummed that they didn't get a wide receiver in the draft. But I like that they brought in these 6'3", 6'4" guys in free agency. So I'm going to throw it to you now, Dirk. What are your thoughts on a couple of these undrafted guys?
Well, since I'm such a lover of linemen, I'm going to go ahead and point out 2 offensive linemen that we should keep our eyes on here. Number 1 is Josh Preeb. He was a guard from Michigan. Actually, he played 3 years at Northwestern and then played his last year at Michigan. But in that time, he was a 4-year starter playing 42 games. Now, when you have that in college, you have a guy that has that much experience as a starter. That tells you something. He's not super oversized. He's 6'2", I think, and 315 pounds or so. Not positive on that, but he's right around that size. Good speed, really good ability handling power, and that's something you definitely want from a guard. I think that his ability to handle power, even from watching it at the college level, I think it's going to end up being better than Liam Eichenberg's ability to do that. So he's going to be competing directly with Liam Eichenberg and Jason Hines for that position, one of those last spots on the line. I would watch for him to sneak in and make this team. And his football intelligence is another one of those players. He's off the charts. So one guy to watch there. And he comes from Michigan and Northwestern, really good football schools, great coaching, fantastic. I'm happy to have him. I hope that he makes the team. And the other one to watch from Western Michigan is Ted Kushi.
Oh, yeah.
Not Coochie, Kushi.
Sorry.
He's one of those guys that he's great NFL size, 300 plus pounds, 6'7", big tackle, good speed. Really, he's a pass blocking specialist. He could use some work in the run game, but if you need someone with pass blocking ability, this is the guy. This is the guy that does not get moved. So another guy to watch. He's got a decent chance to make this team, and I would love to see either one of those make the team over Liam Eichenberg.
Yeah, I think we're all about done with Liam Eichenberg.
Yeah.
I'm really good. I'm really good with that too.
All right, so that's our draft class, guys. If you have any, thoughts, any, what do you think about the Dolphins draft class? Please please tell us about it in the comments, and we will obviously answer you back and everything. We're gonna move on here, Josh, and
Yes.
this is your this is your thing, man.
I love it. Yeah. So we're gonna dive into some fun stuff here momentarily. Hang tight.
Takes from the deep end.
Welcome. This is Dirk. This is your first experience with Takes from the Deep End, man.
Ooh, I'm excited.
I know. This is for those of you that aren't aware, and for those of you that are kind of our regular viewers. This is where we take bold takes, and nobody's playing it safe, right? These are direct and delivered from our fan base, whether it's on our Facebook or comments on our videos on YouTube. I get all the takes that people have, and a lot of these are draft players that we drafted. Are related to those players, and this is where we dive into those spicy takes live and in living color. All right, so Dirk, you are our honored guest tonight, sir. So I will start with you. This is a take about Kenneth Grant.
Oh,
Takes from the deep end. Kenneth Grant will be the best interior defensive lineman the Dolphins have drafted since Tim Bowens. He's not just big, he's dominant. And Miami finally has a true tone setter in the trenches. What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you like the take? Are you like completely adverse to it?
that's somewhat of a hot take just because of the players that we're thinking about when we think of players that we've drafted. At the same time, I don't think this is that hot of a take. I think that this is actually something that could very well become true. He definitely has the skill set, the ability, and the breeding to be able to make that come true. I think it's just really a matter of, can the front office and can the coaching staff hold this team together and do a good enough job around him to allow him to blossom and become what we all think that he probably could become, which is exactly what this is. So I'm going to say not a hot take. I'm going to say this is very possible.
I love it. I absolutely love it. All right, Keith, I got one for you, brother.
All right.
Oh, I don't want to pronounce this guy's name wrong. Takes from the deep end. Jonah S. will be will be starting at right guard week 1 and won't give the job back for a decade.
Ooh.
His power and polish scream long-term fundamental piece across the offensive line. I forgot to type that part. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think this is a good take. I think
Mhm.
Jonas Savianea, he's got tons of potential at right guard. I think he's got Pro Bowl potential at right guard, honestly. Like, I think he's one of those guys where you're going to turn around 10, 12 years from now and say, yeah, he's made 3 or 4 Pro Bowls. He's been awesome for the Dolphins. I can totally see this guy being a foundational piece for the Dolphins offensive line. And this is something it's something I thought they got when they drafted Liam Eichenberg. It's something I thought they got when they drafted, insert dude here. Like, this is a really nice pick. This is going to pay dividends for the next decade. I agree.
I love it. Right back to you, sir. Takes from the deep end. This class will be remembered as the one that saved Mike McDaniel's tenure in Miami. If this group doesn't pan out, this regime is in trouble. But if it hits, and early, they become a turning point.
For me? This for me?
Yes, sir.
I don't know if that's going to affect Mike McDaniel's job. I think that's going to affect Chris Greer's job more than Mike McDaniel's. But what I will say is them succeeding, this draft class succeeding, will definitely act as a little bit of glue and hold some of this stuff together, possibly for another year. So not quite as deep as you'd think, but Mike McDaniel's got a lot of stuff to work on in order to keep his job. So regardless of the success of this draft class, but it would help.
So a little lighter on this take. Okay, cool. I respect it. And just as a quick recap for those, we're almost done with the segment, but these aren't our takes. These aren't our opinions. These are opinions direct from you guys, the fans, and we're just chatting about them. Keith, I'm going to shoot one over to you, and then I have one for the both of you, and then we should be done, if that's cool with you guys.
Good.
All right, takes from the deep end. Jason Marshall Jr. will be Miami's CB3 by week 6 and push Cam Smith off the depth chart. I mean, let's be real. The Cam Smith pick should be considered a miss. Marshall has the juice to leapfrog him quickly.
Well, I think it remains to be seen whether or not Marshall has the juice to leapfrog anybody on this Dolphins roster. Dirk, you said it during your evaluation of Marshall, though. Like, we'll know pretty early on if Marshall's going to have staying power with the Dolphins, if he's going to have staying power on the Dolphins depth chart. Especially once they get rid of Jalen Ramsey, this is going to be a pretty barren cornerback room, and this is going to be an open competition for who's going to take the 2 outside spots. Kader Kohou will man the inside. He shouldn't be on the outside. We've seen that. We've been there. We've done that. But on the outside, you're going to have guys like Storm Duck, Ethan Bonner, and Cam Smith, and Jason Marshall. These guys, and maybe insert veteran here, going to be competing for the outside spots. If Jason Marshall has staying power, he will prove that very early on. If Cam Smith is going to have a future in the NFL, he will prove that pretty early on. This is, like we said it last offseason, this is put up or shut up time for Cam Smith. This truly is Custer's last stand with him. Like, you either come in motivated and ready to be cornerback 1 or 2 on this team, or your future in the end, like, you're going to the UFL. That's your future. Like, that's how it is.
I will say, Keith, let me ask you a kind of a small little rebuttal question on this. Do you think that them pushing each other will make them both better and probably both stick on the team potentially?
Maybe. I don't know. I think if Cam Smith hasn't been pushed yet, then I don't know what's going to. Like, this guy has the talent. We saw it at South Carolina. We've seen it in, like, brief spurts in the NFL. Like, this guy has the talent to be a solid NFL cornerback. I think it's just the mental lapses, and maybe he just doesn't have it upstairs.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more, bro. Couldn't agree more. All right, so this is one for both of you guys. Dirk, it's gonna go to you first. Keith, you can finish this up and then close out the show.
All
The
right.
last takes from the deep end. This draft class will make more rookie first-year impact than the entire 2023 and 2024 classes combined.
When you think about the players that we've added and the needs that we had on this team, I agree 100% with that take.
Mhm.
I really do think that this is going to be a very, very effective class for Miami's this year, for sure.
I like it. Keith, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't see that being too hot of a take at all. I think, and also let's be real, the 2023 and 2024 classes did not set a high bar. Like it's basically Devon Achane and a bunch of dudes who just kind of contributed here or there.
Well, I mean, but we had Chop last year. We had Washington last year. I mean,
Chop.
Yeah, I forgot about
those
Chuck.
aren't scrubs.
But Washington contributed here or there. Like I think that's fair to say. But like I think this is a class, especially given the needs of the holes on this team. This is a class that you really want to see contribute like that. And if they do, then it's going to be a success. It's going to be a successful class. Absolutely.
I love it.
All right, so that's takes from the deep end. We're going to wrap it up here with the 1 hour and 46-minute mark. So Dirk, Frozen Fins fan, again, thank you for showing up for us. Thank you for being a guest on our show tonight. We really appreciate it. We loved having you on, man. Any final thoughts from you?
It was an honor. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you guys. It's a good time.
Yeah, tell the fans where they can find you too, on social and on YouTube and everything.
I'm over on X, Frozen Fin Fan. Just search me up. I'm there, spelled just like it's spelled right there at my name there. I'm on YouTube with the same moniker, Frozen Fin Fan. Put out 2 or 3 videos a week and a couple of lives a week. During the season, I do previews, recaps, everything during the season for the whole NFL, not just our team. So check me out if you want, and we'll see you guys over there too.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and I have a gut feeling that this won't be the only time Dirk is on the show.
Yeah. We loved having you on, and you're welcome back anytime, man.
Awesome. Thank you.
It's been great having you on. Josh, any final thoughts from you, man?
Honestly, not to, blow smoke too much, Dirk, but I could not have appreciated you joining the show more. I mean, seriously, you're a champ. You're a warrior in this space. Your live shows are absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I watch them regularly. I'm always blowing up your comments. Honestly, you put a great product. If you guys haven't gone to see him, go check him out. Go like and subscribe his channel. Show him the love. And honestly, Keith, I love doing the show with you, brother.
Yeah.
Want to give a quick, sad but heartfelt shout out to Taylor. I know you're going through some stuff right now, so we're here for you. We're here with you. So are the fans. And Anthony, I hope you're being a good dad. I hope the newborn and the wife are doing well, and we love you guys.
Yeah. So we're gonna cut it here, guys. Dirk, again, thank you so much, man. This has been awesome. This has been an awesome show, awesome night having you on with us. Josh, always a pleasure, sir. Always a pleasure.
Let's go.
We will be back next week at 7:00, guys. If you like what you saw tonight, please like, subscribe, leave comments. We will always answer the comments. And if you see any Bills fan, maybe get like one of those kick me signs and stick it on their back.
I love it. Yep.
Yeah.
Or trip them, whatever.
Yeah. Just don't injure them. I don't condone injuring them, but maybe just making their life a little more difficult. For myself, for Josh, for Dirk, the Frozen Fins fan, for Anthony, and his baby and his new family, and Taylor, we will see you guys next week. You guys have a lovely, lovely night.